Like you all know, the pandemic resulted or created a global health crisis, which ultimately dovetailed into a global economic crisis. And like we've always said, we've reeled out all the various actions that we took: interest rate on interventions, restructuring of loans, granting of targeted facilities. And let me repeat myself because I said so in the communique. We provided 100 billion naira for targeted facilities, and to date 78 billion has been disbursed to 130,000 beneficiaries. For the 100 billion naira healthcare, 44 billion naira has been disbursed to 16 pharmaceutical firms and 25 hospitals, and we believe this will help go a long way to address some of our health and pharmaceutical crises. Out of the 1 trillion naira agric facility that agric and manufacturing facilities that we said the bank should be able to benefit from, this company should be able to benefit from, we've so far disbursed 216 billion naira, and this has been disbursed to 53 manufacturing companies, 12 agric-related companies, and 13 services projects. On our agric and small enterprises fund, we have so far disbursed to 144,600 beneficiaries, a total of 54 billion naira, and these are the loans that we said were granted by way of giving the real implements needed either for poultries or for hairdressers or those who are doing fashion and the rest of them. And of course, for the creative industry, we have also granted loans to about 250 youth companies, and they are benefited to the tune of about 2.9. So what has been the impact? I would say it has been positive, because truly, if this had not come, perhaps, one, we may not have seen the positive GDP we saw during the first quarter, or a somewhat reduced contraction that we saw during the second quarter of 2020. So I would think that these things have been quite impactful, and we should really commend those who have played an active role. And I think I must commend our colleagues in the Development Finance Department who have done a great job in this. Any analyst looking at the Nigerian economy will say that for us to achieve growth, for us to create employment, we cannot ignore the agric sector. And that is why you all would observe that since 2015, when President Muhammad Buhari assumed power, all that he has concentrated on, at least in the area of economy, is to say that we should revive the agricultural sector. And the Central Bank of Nigeria has held itself out over this period and done a couple of things, either through supporting through Anchor Borrowers program to make smallholder credits available to our smallholder farmers, whether for rice or for tomatoes or for maize or for sorghum or for cassava or fish. These facilities have been made available, and these have been responsible for increase in agri credit from 1% to 4%. And I have a few numbers. For instance, in May 2019, loan to agro services was 324 billion. But as at today, August 2020, right, loans to agro services had gone up to about 430 billion. For crop production, outstanding aggregate loans to this sector was 163 billion in May 2019. August 2020, it had grown to 294 billion. For cash crops, loans to this cash crop subsector was just 90 billion in May 2019. As we speak today, it is 129 billion. And of course, there are other sectors as well where we saw loans at 79 billion, but today stands at 91 billion. So what am I saying? In aggregate, we've seen loans to the agri sector rising, right, just within this short period, from about 658 billion naira to about 900, almost 1 trillion naira during this period. About close to 300 billion naira loans have been granted to support the agri sector. And I can expect that with what we're doing to ensure that we support the agri sector, we just will continue to appeal to more and more people to come in, whether you have your own funding, don't put it in the bank account, bank deposits. Go out and get involved in some of agricultural activities. You can be involved in the process of, if you are not involved in primary agric farming, you can also be involved in the business of making food, moving food from farm to market. You can be involved in the business of processing these agricultural products. You can be involved in the business of moving these agricultural products to the supermarket and the rest of this will create opportunities for wealth creation and also help to grow our economy and also create jobs to employment stimulating sectors of our economy.
Nigeria's two major rivers, Niger and Benue, form a confluence at Lokoja and run southwards into the Gulf of Guinea through creeks that in turn form the Niger Delta. These bodies of water mingle with those flowing from Cross, Imo, Ogun, Osun, Benin and Kwaibo rivers and all empty into the Atlantic Ocean, which borders Nigeria in the south. The country's water resources provide conditions conducive for tropical, fresh and marine fish culture, as well as a suitable climate for year-round production. With a coastline measuring about 853 kilometers and a large resource base of waterways spanning 10,000 kilometers of inland waters, the expectation is that Nigeria by now should be self-sufficient in fish and seafood production. That, however, has not been the case, as the country has been unable to realize the huge potentials in its fishing and aquaculture sector. Statistics show that fish consumption in Nigeria accounts for more than 45% of the meat protein consumed in the country. The fish production in Nigeria as at 2019 stood at 0.8 million tons, while the demand was about 2.7 million tons, thereby leaving a deficit of 1.9 million metric tons of fish. This deficit resulted in a humongous annual import bill of $1.2 billion that got the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to respond by collaborating with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, as well as the governors of coastal states in Nigeria, to rewrite the narrative. Having made huge successes out of its intervention in land farming through its Anchor Borrowers Program ABP that revolutionized the value chains of several crops, the CBN also sought to intervene in the fish value chain with the intent of reducing the fish consumption gap of 1.9 million tons and import bill of $1.2 billion. According to the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, the goal of partnering with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and the coastal states was to develop the blue economy to eradicate the huge import bill for fish. According to Mr. Emefiele, the fish and aquaculture sector provided the states with a huge economic opportunity to create an enabling environment for investors. Spelling out the bank's plans, he said the CBN aimed to boost fish production by 600,000 metric tons in 3 years, create jobs and enhance the skills in the processing of fish in Nigeria, reduce import bills, contribute to food self-sufficiency in Nigeria, improve local production of fish meal, enhance access to finance for fish projects, and address challenges associated with the high cost of fish feeds and quality brood stock. Aquaculture is simply the farming of fish and other marine organisms. It basically involves the cultivation of freshwater and saltwater animals in a controlled environment. The practice, which began almost 60 years ago in Nigeria, is not the same practice as commercial fishing that entails harvesting wild fish. From being a government-driven venture when it began in Paniam Fish Farm, Jos, in 1951, the practice is now private sector-led. Aquaculture is practiced across all the regions of Nigeria, but the most active regions are the North Central, Southeast, South-South, and the Southwest. As at today, Nigeria is the largest market for fisheries products in Africa. Researchers in the field are agreed that aquaculture production remains the best option to bridge the gap between the total fish demand and total domestic production. According to these researchers, Nigeria went into aquaculture as a result of the decrease in supply from ocean fisheries due to overfishing, habitat destruction, and pollution. Other challenges in that sector include poor fishing methods, inadequate technical capacity and skills, high cost of fish feeds, low financing of fish projects by deposit money banks (DMBs), inadequate storage and processing facilities, poor quality of brood stock, flooding, and market failure. To address these challenges, the CBN, through its various interventions, has had to extend a facility to the fish value chain amounting to 21 billion naira. Under the Commodity Development Initiative (CDI), the bank has disbursed a total of 500 million naira to farmers cut across various states of the Federation. These funds were disbursed to 40 companies and over 3,000 farmers. Thanks to the interventions, the sector now has an annual increment of 200 metric tons, mainly from aquaculture.
I'm aware that we have about 3,000 ponds here, each harboring close to 5,000 to 6,000 fish. I'm delighted that you have close to, how many stakeholders? I hear almost about over 2,000 stakeholders. This is a well-organized system, and you do deserve funding from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
By engaging with government of coastal states in Nigeria, fish value chain players, importers and exporters, the bank hopes for a spike in import substitution, employment figures, and the sale of local fish species in supermarkets on all sides of the River Niger. Besides the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, the CBN is also engaging the Nigerian Institute of Marine Research and Oceanography on fishing and fish management to develop broodstock for quality seeds and fingerlings. To further enhance local fish production and its distribution, the bank's development finance